We will now learn about some of the extensions we will want to have for a basic Vivaldi browser. To find the extensions page, you can click in Vivaldi browser, the tools menu, extensions. This will have a page where you have a listing of your extensions, already installed ones. Click the link to the Chrome Web Store, which has the listing of all the Chrome apps, Chrome extensions, the themes. The first one extension that we want is going to be a blocking extension that will block scripts, block various nefarious or annoying things. It is called uBlock Origin Lite. And there are fake uBlocks. So we want to make sure we get a legitimate uBlock. Is it okay? Not uBlock Origin Lite. That has less permissions required. So we will decide right now which uBlock is the real legit one. This is a new version with only 456 ratings, 1 million users, however. It's featured. We want to use this privacy and security category in a moment to find more. There's all these options, as you can see. uBlock Pro, that doesn't look real. uBlock Origin is the OG original. uBlock Origin Lite is a newer option. 1 million users versus 40 million users. It is not an ad blocker, it's a wide spectrum content blocker. And you can use it to block things on the Peter Lowe's ad list and other lists, annoyances lists, cookie notice lists, and things. So we're going to use the OG uBlock Origin with 40 million users. We have ensured we have a legit one. Many of these extensions say they'll be stopped supported soon, and you'll see that that is usually when it's a privacy or security extension. They don't like what is going on and their ads being blocked. So they are pushing that extension out and penalizing the extension for intruding on their business model. Now, we're going to have multiple layers of trackers, tracking blockers. We'll have uBlock. We'll have Privacy Badger, because Privacy Badger will supposedly learn to block invisible trackers. It discovers trackers based on their behavior rather than a list. So that's why we want two layers there. You can see this first is the uBlock interface. You can block media elements, frames, remote fonts, all with one click of that row. If you click more here, it'll bring up this interface. And you click this to enable or disable things. But Privacy Badger is from the EFF, Electronic Frontier Foundation, and it will pick up some things the others miss. There's another extension I like for blocking you can use called NoScript. Again, we want to make sure we have the right one that's featured. This will be an extension that allows the greatest level of granular control on what scripts get blocked, which scripts are allowed. It has the most thorough and easiest to work interface when it comes to on the fly accepting and denying scripts on a granular level. So if we're on a page, you can see Google is trusted. You can temporarily trust. You can default block. And this will pick up all the scripts on the page, list them, and allow you to block them one by one. We will next install Trace. Search for Trace. Add it to Vivaldi. Click here to switch to the advanced UI. Go to the protections section to see all the content and settings. And this is a very powerful extension. It is going to break many pages until you optimize your settings for the pages you're trying to access. We can go through real quick, look at some of the basic settings. This will allow your fingerprint to be reduced. The fingerprint is something that is hard to avoid. There are multiple points of data related to your browser and your system which are hard to change, such as your MAC address, IP address. We have to take measures that prevent them from being leaked or given out when we don't want them to. So we have, to begin, the canvas fingerprint protection. So when your computer accesses the canvas, it will basically give up a identifying aspect. This will let you specify a value for the canvas basically an RGB value for like what color or how the canvas appears can be fingerprinted if it's the same between visits. This will either randomize or let you specify, and we will want this enabled. Audio fingerprint, I enable this, go to the configure and select modify offline audio context object, more commonly used for tracking. I select that, but not main audio context object because it says it breaks things. And I do some streaming via the browser regarding audio. So we can't break it entirely. WebRC protection you want, as I discussed in the settings video for Vivaldi settings, you can set the WebRTC setting in Vivaldi itself natively, but we want this WebRTC protection enabled on the device enumeration protection, stop exposing your local address, etc., because there is a flaw in the VPN protocols and softwares where, or with WebRTC, either end, where your IP can leak when using a VPN if you have WebRTC fully enabled. We will have ping protection enabled, but we'll leave the default to not remove ping tracking from web links. You can try it if you want, but it may corrupt your link. One day you'll be trying to access something, it won't access, you won't know why, and you'll have a big runaround until you find that setting again, which you'll have forgotten about. If there's a variable in the link that it's picking up as a ping variable of some sort in the web link, ping tracking from the web link will have an issue accessing the site if we remove it and it's not done properly. It's just going to be a mess. So I think it's worth just leaving that one. Screen resolution tracking, we want to change to enabled. Go to configure for that. And you can do two methods on this setting. Either click add common resolutions and it will import 13 resolutions from their list, or you can use this change selection method button and set a minimum and maximum offset. And what I like to do is change the offset, just randomly change it to, let's say, negative 60 and 60. Because if there is a range, that range could be detected. The range is for the dimensions of the window of the browser. And this will use a random number between the two values, which will be added to your real screen resolution, making it more difficult to have the real resolution. Between page visits, your screen resolution can be detected, and it can be used to track you between pages using the fact your screen resolution won't change, other resolutions won't change, and that creates a fingerprint that is easily detectable. Leave the hardware fingerprinting protection enabled. It is spoofing your RAM and CPU core count, as well as some APIs. WebGL fingerprinting protection. You can click Import Traces List to import their GPU list. This way, the browser isn't fingerprinting you based on your GPU. Is this a good idea, though? This is normally what I run. However, we are using this system today. In actuality, it has been part of a series on artificial intelligence, running web UIs, in particular for stable diffusion, image generation, artificial intelligence, which runs on GPU. That's why we're not going to use WebGL fingerprinting protection. We're going to let this pick up our GPU because we want to have the browser running on the raw GPU. It needs to know which GPU it's running, so things are optimized for it. So we are going to leave out the WebGL fingerprinting protection to have the best performance with web UIs. And you can look at configure hardware, fingerprinting protection, spoof RAM amount. I'm going to change it to 8 gigabytes. Spoof CPU core count. I'm going to change to... We're going to leave that. We are not necessarily needing to change the spoof RAM amount either, but I don't want it to be bogged down or have the incorrect impression that we're not on a capable system. I have 64 gigabytes of RAM. I don't have 8. I have 64. But we wanted to at least know there's 8. And this is spoofing things on for the browser less than the base system. And this is just what's reported to the servers that are accessed by your browser. Those things can be manipulated. The network information spoofer will essentially use the navigator.connection API to report your internet speed. This is up to you today. I'm going to leave it disabled by default so we can continue with the advanced protections. There are a few important ones here. And remember, these settings generally will break some websites for you. You will want to go back, adjust things, mess with them, and it might be a little troubleshooting to get there, but get there to a place where it's stable and working, but still blocking as much as possible. We're going to want to have the Google header removal disabled. We want to be able to access Google generally for things like Colab, Gmail. If we're doing AI, we might use a Colab server, Google's cloud GPU service. User agent randomizer I do use. And we can leave it on Windows and Linux, OS, Chrome, Firefox, or Vivaldi. I will turn off Opera and Safari and Edge. This way, the browsers are all browsers which are cross platform. We're giving it the option of Linux or Windows. You don't want Mac. Edge isn't available on Mac. Safari is only available on Mac. So this is a good selection to have a randomized user agent that is not going to fingerprint you worse. Make sure it's enabled. We can try using get client recs. This API returns information about sizes of elements on the page. It can be used to fingerprint and identify you. When your sites don't work, you can go change that back. And you can use the trace menu to see what has been blocked, and it will give you an idea of what to change to fix it. If you need something to run that's being blocked, you can use the trace menu for the extension to discover which it is that needs to be changed back. JS plugin hide. It says that it can cause issues on many websites. It returns an empty string when the Navigator plugins API is accessed. That sounds like it could actually fingerprint you worse, put you in a worse position in regarding fingerprinting, because an empty string is not typical. They can see you're blocking things if you're returning an empty string. If you return just the default plugin string, that would actually be better. And this also says it can break things. So we'll leave the JS plugin hide disabled. Window opener protection. This can cause issues with things like banking or weird issues randomly if your page is trying to communicate with a previous page or a different window. This will stop it. Let's enable that for now, and we'll, on a granular level, fix our extensions as we go. When we know our requirements of what we're going to do specifically, you want to have the most secure setup, a minimal amount of features depending on what you're doing exactly. E-tag tracking protection. This is an issue because it prevents some sites from working properly. However, it's also a privacy concern like the rest of these. And we will enable it until necessary to disable it, so that we know where we're hitting that issue, if it's common. And that applies for all of these. This is the initial setup of Vivaldi Trace extension. This is the browser settings. Make sure these are filled out. And that is a good overview of Trace. We have installed several blocking mechanisms. Let's see. Does the Pirate Bay still exist? Does anyone know? What happens if we go to something sketchy and need the block? I'm not downloading anything. We're just looking at what is being blocked. And this is blocking sites. And you can see if you want to allow this page, which did not fully load, you'll use these menus. I like to use the NoScript menu because it allows the finest granular control. You can see the Pirate Bay isn't allowing JavaScript. It didn't load. Let's see what happens if we allow the piratebay.org script to be trusted. Now it has loaded. And I do not recommend using this site. I wanted a sketchy site with scripts trying to load that I don't want to load. I was actually hoping it would be more sketchy today and there would be more scripts like the old days, but okay, that's a brief overview of some of the few extensions we can run on Vivaldi, how to set them up step by step. And we are using this browser for our Comfy UI and web UIs for stable diffusion, artificial intelligence, which allows you to generate images using AI. That is our focus here, stable diffusion. Stay tuned for more nerdy stuff with Alien Machine AI. One more privacy related extension is Decentralized. This does something the others aren't doing, which is providing files which normally exist on a CDN, content delivery network, which will house common libraries and files like a JavaScript library, maybe for Ajax or Bootstrap or some web technology we have on multiple sites. It will be on a CDN for maximum availability, but you can be tracked by these CDN stored files. This decentralized application or extension will decentralize these centralized files stored on CDNs and serve you a local file. So this is just something 4.7 out of 5 stars, highly rated. So we'll use that as well. And next, we will look at some non-privacy extensions that you might need, such as Bitwarden or a KeyPass extension, a password manager, in other words. LastPass, whatever you prefer to use. You can use the built-in password manager, which also syncs, but it's not cross-platform. You have to use Vivaldi. I also use Joplin for notes. It is the best note-taking application. It's open source. And this Joplin application for web clipping will let you clip or save web pages as notes and store these notes in a end-to-end encrypted application, storing to the cloud as well. So I recommend Joplin generally anytime you're doing anything academic or nerdy or just general life. Joplin is key. Raindrop.io extension is another great extension for saving links, organizing links. You'll need to sign up, but it's worth it. They have a free version. I've even paid for the Raindrop Premium version. And it helps you organize links and information and then go back later. Sort of like Joplin, but more focused on bookmarks than notes. These are just some basic extensions, a base for you to go forward, install any custom ones you want, any further ones you want. Go ahead, but I like to keep it simple. Keep in mind they're not all private. Some are for profit more than others. So just be careful. Make sure it's a good tool that is vetted. Depending on your use case and what you're doing, you'll need different extensions. So we'll leave it at that with the most basic setup. Stay tuned for more videos with Alien Machine AI.